Warning, 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 warning. This is a emergency broadcast. Code Red, here we are. Pick up your iPads, your cell phones, and have me and listen to Uncle the Podcast. Watch out. If you're sitting down for this, or if you're standing up, you better get ready for this, because it's gonna hit the eardrums. Uncle the Broadcast.
You are listening to Uncle the Broadcast. My name is Aaron. I'm the nephew-in-law. Here with me is the star of the show, Uncle.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are 309, I believe it is, tonight.
Sounds right, Uncle.
And so we have calls going crazy. Yeah, check it.
It's crazy.
Let's roll 'em go.
It's wild always on a Sunday night at Shelly.com. You can call in when we're live on the network, 319-527-5016, or Skype, charles.ocelli. You type him a message on Skype. Type a message to charles.ocelli. He'll bring you on the show, or call 319-527-5016. We're live with Uncle the Broadcast. What's going on, Uncle?
We have,
Something cool?
We have some bad news there, so I get...
Did the New York Giants lose?
You kicked out of the pool.
I'm kicked out of my work NFL pool thing.
Yeah.
If they would have won, I would have been right there, but it's over for this week.
Yeah.
There's always next week, Uncle. I came close.
I know.
I did remarkably good.
If you listened to me for a little bit on that first game, you might have been in the money.
Yes, it's true.
But
it's true.
If I get, what's his name on this line, he even would tell you.
Yeah,
Jimmy boy.
Uncle's talking about how I picked Kansas City Chiefs to win over Detroit Lions. My gut actually told me that the Lions would win, but I was like, I went with the safe bet, Kansas City, and I was horribly wrong. If I would have done that, I'd still be in the runnings for it, Uncle, but I goofed that one up. What can I say? I did, however, pick the LA Rams to beat the Seahawks, and nobody else did.
Yeah, you got one.
That's
one out of the right.
I feel vindicated there, Uncle.
Yeah, they tell you they don't need Cooper Kupp, even though he was hurt. They have his backups.
They still won.
And they still won it. So my boy did his job.
Amazing performance by the LA Rams today. I'm very happy to see that they're at least decent this year. Now, coming up next week against San Francisco, I think it's going to be a different story. I don't plan that they'll win. But
maybe or maybe not. Depends. We have to look it over.
I want them to win, but honestly, I doubt that they will. San Francisco is very good, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm excited.
Let me say this.
I'm excited.
I'll be shocked if they do win.
I would be too.
I'd be shocked. I do pick them. If I don't pick them and pick the 49ers, because I'm going 5 with them this coming week, and just for the heck of it, say that, I wind up losing, that's fine too. I might think about that.
Maybe. Yeah, give it some thought there.
Thought on that one, because...
Hey, I mean, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, the first week of National Football League play, it's back. We're just having fun with it. We're enjoying ourselves. We're taking in the games. We're enjoying the work pools for what it's worth. We're just
he comes in
goofing around.
With the paper signing. Hey, look at this. Look at this. Come to me. You're really good at this. So I go through it, the process. And, dang, this is fun.
You had some pretty good opinions on a few of them, I gotta say, Uncle. You were pretty good on a few of those.
Well, I did it once in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And people gave me the sheet, and I sat on my breaks to pick the teams.
Oh, Uncle, I'm in the Ocelli.com chat room right now. I'm seeing that Ray down in Australia had the beer that we had last week. He had Bitburger, and he reviewed it himself. Do you want to hear how he reviewed that beer?
The one that we had?
The one from Germany we drank on last week's show, yeah.
Oh, he drank it now.
Yeah, he gave it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, man.
Is that right?
Hey, this guy did it the first time. 10 out of 10. Shocked me.
One of few times.
1 out of how many times?
Very few.
You fella? Who's that guy dancing?
Right. I've got some new really idiotic graphics I'm playing around with, Uncle. So don't mind me if I'm just adding in some crazy. Actually, these graphics would be really good for a DJ show to play around with. Like, I'm kind of like getting them set, and if I do like interesting crossfades, I can see, like, if I were to fade in this image, which is the roof of the Integratron, and I were to do a nice little crossfade with this weird little man that's dancing. I'm not sure who he is. He's dancing, and you get quite the little crazy psychedelic effect.
I have my glasses on.
Isn't that pretty wild right there, Uncle? Wouldn't that be really good with some cool music behind it playing? I feel like I could really grab someone's attention on Twitch with that.
But I know it isn't.
Maybe. I don't know. But what if instead of that, we did a fade with, and we put that? Maybe we like that image a little better. We do that.
Well, no, that was because the hurricane.
Or maybe we want a different background. Maybe we like the outdoors of the desert. We want to go from indoors of the Integratron to outdoors. We do a little crossfade there. Ooh, I know. That's how I feel about that. Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful specimen. Look at all of the branches. How many years did it take to grow? And if you're not watching the live feed, this probably doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just us babbling away. But I'm playing around with the live stream graphics, Uncle. What do you think?
I can see.
Do you approve or disapprove?
That's okay.
Good enough. Good enough will have to do. Taking a load off now?
I'm trying to.
You feeling okay?
I'm trying to get this down to me.
Okay. Get it on down. Get it down where it needs to be.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just here, Uncle. We're just here making a show.
Well, here we are on the show, and who have anyone call on the telephone?
Yeah, call it in.
Call it in.
319-527-5016 or Skype, Charles Dotticelli. Send him a message. He'll bring you on. Oh, Uncle, why don't we talk about the desert and our little trip out there this week? That was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
We had to go. We went Friday.
Mm-hmm. We did.
Me and him went Friday.
We did.
And she, of course, was working at home.
Yes.
And
so it was just us.
We had cleaned up for the next guest.
Yes, we did. Things are going pretty well with all that.
It is moving along, I say, that desert house.
Not bad.
Well,
we'll take it.
They got some booked this coming months. This month.
Yeah, we got bookings. Months. Yeah.
Otherwise, they got September booked. I don't know about October yet, but
it's looking pretty good overall. But yeah, anyway, we were out there and we had a wildlife encounter. You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that crazy thing.
We had I made a mistake on my video. First of all,
your video. What, on Instagram?
On my Instagram.
What was the mistake we made?
She isn't scared of that. But it was the other thing. I was confused.
But what was the video? Because I think a lot of people might not have seen the video, actually.
This tramp lobster chop on the tree.
We saw a desert lobster, didn't we?
Yeah, it was like a lobster chopping.
Kind of like that, yeah.
And he was like plain white.
Plain white lobster.
Completely white. The size of it. I haven't seen a size that big before.
Uh-huh.
But I seen the smaller ones, but not that size. That size was absolutely big.
It was a big desert lobster crawling up a tree.
Yeah.
I watered the tree. Ironically, the lobster didn't like water.
No,
he started climbing up the tree.
That's what got him out of it.
I scared him out.
Scared him out, and then we started seeing him.
Then we saw it. Yeah, it was actually, yeah. So I mean, we have a tree in the yard. I was watering it, and I was spraying. And it was funny because as I was watering the ground, I was spraying. I was just thinking about all the desert animals. How like by placing water on the ground like I was doing with a hose, like, oh, this is going to like attract a lot of animals. It's like a big change in the environment. Like me spraying water all over the place, it's going to attract them to drink it, and it's going to make them like move around and stuff. I had that in my head. And then a little bit after that, this very large scorpion
That was that. Yeah, the scorpion.
climbs up the trunk of
That's
the
what it
tree. I was
was,
like, oh my gosh. I was like, whoa. I was like, look at that thing. It's like this big pale colored scorpion.
Yeah.
It was like 5 inches long, probably, with its tail curled, not even like outstretched. It was about that big.
At least 5.
It
It
was
had to be
big.
at least 5.
It was big.
But the tail
Mhm.
was curled up like he said,
Mhm.
but couldn't. If that thing came out longer, I would have thought that tail would have been out of the tree and just sitting there.
Yeah, it had a large tail. It had a large tail with the stinger on the end, obviously. It had those claws. It was like a very light-colored scorpion, kind of like white, tannish, pale-colored.
Right.
It was big. It was really big. I was like, oh, whoa. It was really cool because I've seen one other scorpion out there before, but it was a much, much smaller. Might have been a baby of the same kind of scorpion. I don't know, but it was way smaller than this.
Here he is.
Yeah, there we go, Uncle.
Call on telephone. No, I think I know who it is. Go ahead and call your name.
Oh, the scorpions rock you like a hurricane.
Oh, yeah, the hurricanes.
I was tempted to put that in the Instagram video, but I couldn't put the song and have Uncle's audio at the same time, so I was like, we'll just do the regular audio. I almost did that.
Hey, Jimmy. I got some news for you.
What did I tell? Hey, what did I tell you a week ago? I said, what did I say? I predict that 1 week I would be telling you something, though.
I know what it is.
He was right.
But
he was right.
But the sidekick here
I know.
doesn't listen to me.
I didn't. I honestly, Jimmy, in my gut, I was like, you know what? I think the Lions are gonna win. But then I decided to go with Kansas City foolishly. If I'd known Kelsey would have been out, that would have been the straw that made me go, okay, we're going with the Lions. But still.
Oh, sure. That's the point where everyone started getting on board. I was like, man, I knew I should have betted on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would have been a good bet. You would have made out on that one. But, oh well. We're happy that your team's doing good. That's cool.
Really good in that first game. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then it goes.
I'm sorry, Uncle. You were going to say something to me that I interrupted to begin with before I went on about the Lions. What was it that you originally was going to say?
I was going to say about the other game. He picked our team,
the Rams.
The Rams.
Yep.
And I said,
I picked them.
Go with the Rams. They'll beat Seattle. They will beat Seattle.
Yeah,
Believe me, they will beat Seattle. And what did they do?
They did.
Smack the bunks out of them.
They did. I was happy about that.
He got that.
I think the Lions play them next. I think we're going to beat them too, honestly.
You play the Rams? No, we play the 49ers.
No, we're going to play. We're playing the Seahawks next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you guys are playing the Seahawks.
I'm saying it. Yeah, I'm just saying if the Rams beat them, I'm confident we'll beat them.
Yeah, you'll probably beat them. Don't matter where. 12 man means nothing. In that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But so then he comes in, needed my help to pick these things. So I'm going here trying to figure out the picking. And he took his other team.
Took the other team.
Los Angeles Chargers over Miami. Of course, I didn't know what was going to happen to my even self. But, man, something told me something interesting at the end of that game. They are coming back.
Coming on back. Here they come.
And they came back And one team here, I got beat by them. And people that were saying that they're going to be good this year, if Tua was good, they're going to be there.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about the Chargers and the Miami. Yeah, I picked the Chargers on that one.
I know. That's where you fell for. You got found down for on your first game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was so close. You can't fault me for making that choice.
No, I'm not saying that.
They definitely could have. It's a darn Tyreek Hill. He foiled us.
That's that Hill, man. He can fly.
Yeah.
He got some receivers. Watch him.
I would have gone away with it if it weren't for that darn Tyreek Hill and his meddling dog.
Meddling dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Scooby-Doo. He had part of it, too.
I didn't hear that.
I don't know if you saw him on the sidelines, but he was there for the Dolphins, okay?
Oh.
Know what I mean?
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're not on the same wavelength, bro.
I didn't see that one coming.
Oh, yeah, I know. Surprise.
But, so, that's story.
So how are you feeling, Jimmy, about this whole thing?
I'm doing all right. I was just thinking on this mascot stuff, though, that like the Detroit Lions, we should be required to have a real lion there present.
Yeah,
well, they do have they had the Lions for him.
But I don't know if PETA would be they'd be a little upset about that, I'm thinking. Other than that, I mean, it's a cool idea. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know if the lion would want to be there either. That's the issue with that.
Well, this
I used to know a pretty famous cougar.
Oh yeah, who was that?
Who was that?
Yeah, remember the one that used to be on Murphy? He used to go, wow. Yeah, I knew that cat.
I knew a cat.
Look at that, Uncle. Celebrities. Impressive.
Well,
that cat's gone further than anyone else in town.
Yeah.
Really made a name for themselves.
So what I like about his idea and this stuff, I sort of enjoyed him bringing it in. Cause, I was doing a pool at work. Yeah. So I mean, Uncle's getting involved and helping. And I sort of enjoy those things.
Yeah. It was a good time. We had a lot of fun this week playing that, even though I didn't win, but I came close enough. I was like, ooh, that was exciting. That was fun. So, Did all right.
Not bad for the first week, I mean.
Press the button, everybody. Go to @Uncle Podcast on Instagram. See
press that button.
Press a button, and you'll see the Scorpion video, and then you'll see more. You get more great content afterwards. You don't want to miss it. Smack the buttons.
Who's in that chat room that's been banging around in their eardrums?
There's a whole lot of banging going on over there, isn't there?
I don't know. That's what I've been hearing.
Uncle's been hearing the click-clacks from Ochelli.com chat. There's a lot of chatting.
Yeah, people are there.
They're in there. Phase Shifter's talking about Squirrel Nation.
Nation.
That almost sounds like an NFL fan base. Squirrel Nation.
Oh, no.
That would be a cool NFL team. The Squirrels.
Oh,
maybe it could be an expansion team.
That probably is.
Hey, that could work.
Right?
Expansion team?
That could work for a name. I don't think anyone else has ever called themselves no Squirrels. The Squirrels.
Why not? I mean, it works, right? I can see it. A squirrel can be kind of tough, you know. They're kind of scrappy little things.
Ed wouldn't mind it.
Yeah,
his boys be doing that.
Could be a cool team. Something different, you know.
Don't mess with us. We're not.
Oh yeah, you could go all sorts of. I mean, the goofballs in the stadium could be like, the nut heads, and they could wear an acorn on their head and act like kooks, and you know, like this is the nut zone, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, come on, everybody, how do you not think of this already? Yeah. Get on it, NFL. Some city that doesn't have a team. We're giving you the idea. You may take it and run with it.
Yeah, they can win that though. So now. But the thing, since we're on that same boat riding around, the big Monday night game is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's Buffalo and New York Jets.
Jets. That is going to be wild. But
I picked Buffalo.
I know. Even though you're out of the program.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but
it don't matter anymore to you.
I still, for some reason, I still want to be right because being right is so much fun. We'll see. Isn't it great?
Yeah. So, what do we have on our listening show?
You know what? I'm trying to get some guests lined up. Actually, we should have one next week. I've got a guy that wants to come on next week. So if everything works out, we should have a guest on here next week, Uncle. Yeah. So
you're actually looking for a guest?
We should have a guest next week. So everybody, be sure to listen in on Ocelli.com next Sunday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, and you will be blessed with a wonderful guest spot on Uncle the broadcast. We
better get some equipment.
Well, they're going to call in. They're going to call into the show. It's a call-in guest. But yeah, actually, we're hoping to work on some in-studio guests too. And for that, I should get some new equipment.
Who's it at you?
What was that?
What was that? Sounded like a
little accidental button push on my part. Sorry.
Oh,
you shooting What are you shooting buttons?
It's a button.
I didn't say you with a button. Josh, you have a button too?
Press the button.
I got a lot of buttons. I can make a lot of noises during your show, Uncle, and sometimes I just accidentally hit something and it played. So it was a mistake.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, Uncle, I think it could be a good thing because he pressed a button. He didn't press the button, but it was a button. I'll call that close enough in this case.
Yeah.
That's right. Smash that like button on any platform you're watching or listening because we need it all. Likes.
Yeah.
That's right. Chuck knows, Uncle. Chuck knows.
Okay, well, if there ain't no one else on the line, I got another question for you, Uncle.
Go ahead.
Or Aaron.
He's right
or
here.
Chuck.
No, there.
So I was just browsing this. I was just browsing, all these crazy crime podcasts, and this one was about, I guess, is a professional wrestler called the Croatian Giant who was apparently murdered. Are you aware of this?
No. When was he a wrestler? Was he in WWE or what's the whole story?
Yeah, I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know anything about this guy, just for the record, so I know nothing on it. Go ahead.
Is he that guy that wore that weird bodysuit that looked like he was naked, but he had weird hair on his shoulders and stuff, and he was literally like 8 feet tall? Was he that guy? He was like huge, absolute like giant guy.
That sounds right. That sounds right to me. But
okay.
I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but he was definitely WWE, and
okay.
It sounds like the events took place like in the early 2000s.
He was murdered? He was murdered.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, God. I didn't know about that.
A murdered wrestler?
Huh. Is it like a mystery? Nobody knows who the culprit was? All
That's
that sort
what
of thing?
it sounds like.
No, they seem to pretty much know from what it sounded like. They pretty much blame it on their version of their mafia.
A quick look at a Canadian news website called globalnews.ca. Apparently, let's see, when did this happen? September 19th of 2015 is the date of this article. Winnipeg, in Canada, a 59-year-old woman is now facing life behind bars with no chance of parole for at least 25 years after being convicted of first-degree murder. Rita Cushine was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder in the death of a former professional wrestler known as, quote, the Croatian Giant, end quote. Ivan Radokaj, okay, which is spelled Radocaj, 43, was killed in 2007. Cushing testified in her own defense at trial, claimed she didn't know about the plan to attack him. However, the Queen's Bench Justice did not buy it. Cushing's son, Donald, Richard, and 3 others have already been convicted for their roles in the murder. So apparently, this is something that happened in 2007. She was convicted in 2015. And that's the way the official story stands. Now, is there a conspiracy or whatever else? It doesn't mention it here in the general global news article. I'll put that link in the chat room at Ocelli.com, by the way, just in case anybody else wants to look at it.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out who the Croatian Giant is.
Yeah, there's pictures of him in the article. I'm just saying. But he doesn't look familiar to me at all. I don't remember this guy from anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not finding much. I don't think he's the guy that I suspected earlier that wore that weird suit thing. I don't know who it is.
That might have been one of the barbarian guys at some point who had this odd sort of drawn on muscles on a fleshy colored suit.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I think that I'll look it up, but I don't know, something's ringing a bell in my head he was some kind of barbarian, not barbarian like Road Warrior barbarian, but another guy like the Barbarian or something like that, and he was extra big and he probably didn't last long. But this guy I don't remember at all, Croatian Giant.
I don't either. I don't remember him either.
Uncle, did you ever see the Croatian Giant maybe? Maybe you saw it.
No. I haven't heard about him.
No, see, lots of other giants. I remember Kamala, the Ugandan giant, Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant, I knew of them and stuff because they've been on the TVs, but
for a minute there, they called that guy the Big Show.
Not the show them on original TV.
Right.
Otherwise, we would have said something.
Right. For a minute there, they showed that guy that they called the Big Show later. He was something giant. Yeah. Even Big John Studd at one point started calling himself the Giant John Studd. Although he was not as big as Andre, and that was his big rivalry. And his whole gimmick for a little while was, we'll pay you $10,000 if you can slam me. Remember that?
$10,000. Yeah.
That was Big John Studd's gimmick or Andre the Giant's gimmick?
Oh, Big John Studd's gimmick.
Big John says it is.
Okay. Yeah. I remember hearing stories about Andre the Giant really disliked him and he would beat up on him pretty bad. I think that came up in the Andre the Giant biographies. That was one of the guys, I suppose if you crossed Andre the Giant or he just didn't like you, he would take the opportunity in the ring to actually hurt you, which doesn't take a lot of effort on his part. So he would make you pay for your crimes, whatever they have.
When you're 7'4" and 500 pounds, I imagine it wouldn't be too hard to hurt somebody else. Think about that. That's two of me, weight wise, and you got to add another foot. Let's see. Got to add another foot and 4 inches to my height. That's a hell of a thing. I don't even want to wrestle with that, for God's sake. Yeah, it could easily hurt you accidentally or on purpose, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and he would do that move where you go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
The best part of that documentary on him was when the Macho Man, they were talking. He used to hurt me, man. I didn't like it. He used to pick me up like I was a toy.
Well, Randy, compared to Andre, was not big at all. He wasn't even big compared to most of the contemporary wrestlers. It was just, he was a big guy, kind of.
Yeah.
But, not when you got, not when you start getting into the 7-foot range and well over 300-pound range, he starts getting dwarfed. Randy was a little small, even though he had all those skills and he'd been from the wrestling family, the Papos and all that. So I could imagine Andre throwing him around like a rag doll.
Oh, yeah. Hulk Hogan made him look very tiny. He was definitely, as far as wrestlers go, not very large.
Yeah, and Hogan, I think, his official measurements are 8 inches.
You guys just got to see one live. If you haven't.
Oh, in a band.
But those something. To see one live, you all will flip out.
Yeah, it'd be cool. That'd be fun.
I have, and
be fun.
Come out, coming out, kind of stuff this guys do, and this is on bum television.
Oh yeah.
Well, but Uncle, I saw Andre.
Wow.
I saw Andre live in Asbury Park, right there at the convention hall. huge Andre was. He was shaking, touching your hands as he's going through, right? And I'm not a small guy, as I've always said. I mean, I'm not a giant guy at all. I'm 6 foot tall. I got fairly large hands. I stuck my hand out, try and get the little touch or a little shake on his way through. And my hand just disappeared. Like a toddler's hand disappears in a grown man's hand, in Andre's hand. I was like, wow, this guy's huge, man. He had mitts.
See, I told you, it's seeing, like I said, Chuck, it's seeing somebody live in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You just go, you try to find a ticket, you go to these things, and boom. When I saw that one time, I went with my friend, and we both went in, and boy, and there was
what decade we talking?
Did you go
80s, 90s?
Yeah, and where did you go? In New York or Florida or?
In Florida area.
1990s, 2000s, maybe even. 2000s.
Yeah, it might have been.
Who were the main stars you remember seeing? Who were the biggest? Macho Man?
I think.
Was Macho Man wrestling?
No, the three big new names, but he started as little munchkins. Run around there. Boom, boom, boom.
They started as a munchkin, then they grew into a big guy?
Yeah.
This is what the rest of
Maybe he's talking about that guy who was the Irish guy who was running around, and for a minute there they had leprechauns with him. Who was that guy?
Leprechauns. How do I forget this one?
Yeah, no, he was
guys come in the stadium.
He had red hair.
Down the backside to the
leprechauns
to the thing.
Yeah.
And here they come. I mean, they own little things coming down and trying to do a wrestling match.
Oh gosh.
And everybody fighting there, going crazy, and these little things around the fans' feet.
You're not talking about Doink and Dink the clowns, are you? That Doink the clown, he had that guy that was the little guy that was also dressed like him, and he was named Dink. It wasn't that, was it?
Well, for a little while, there were these little leprechaun guys who used to come out with a guy who had red hair, and was so they would play very stereotypical Irish jig kind of do 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 do, and you're waiting for these.
It was really a character show, like watching a show on the
TV.
On the stage.
Okay.
And it's like one of them.
Yeah.
And he comes down on, start talking about in the ring.
So this is the one that you remember the best, is whatever this.
So he probably went to a TV taping where they have these things that go on in between, because the regular wrestling matches used to be.
Right.
You just got wrestling, unless they were taping it for TV or they were broadcasting it live.
Right.
Okay.
There was you're right. There was a TV.
So there were cameras
taping it from the TV.
Right.
In this, and we're sitting there live watching this. And all the people that are on the TV watching this is how they do it. It's very, very complicated.
So was it like a Monday Night Raw or Thursday night event?
Something
that
like
was
that.
Nationally televised?
It was.
And they
it
probably
was like
had
Monday Raw.
It was.
And I think he's trying to tell you about the big screens that are inside of the place while you're sitting there, because you can actually look up and there's a big screen so the people in the nosebleed seats can actually see what's happening. Right? And so they got the giant screens that you can see it from any side. They put it on all four sides, or at least two sides of the ring, right?
Right.
Yep. And then you see actually what the cameras are picking up on those screens. Or you can look down at the live action. But, if you're way up in the nosebleeds, again, way in the back, maybe you're better off looking at the screen.
Let's say, fairly close to the ground.
You guys were close. Okay.
Yeah, we were. And, man, where we saw the spit coming out of when they were shooting.
Oh, yeah.
When they hit each other.
When they start hitting each other.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And they're hitting the floor, on the mat. Bang, bang, bang. They're not hitting people popping their hands, pop them out.
Not always.
they hit the gun like on the feet.
Yeah,
on the mat,
they're slamming
and
them.
Going, slapping, going back and forth.
Yeah.
So now you know that's all fake.
See, it's all fake, but I'll tell you, back when I saw that Andre thing, though, Uncle, I saw something incredible. There was a guy named Mr. Fuji, right, who was still a wrestler. He becomes a manager later, but at this time when I saw Andre, this is like the 80s, I think early 80s, I was real young, but I'm real close, right, like almost front row, and Mr. Fuji used to do a thing where he threw salt in the corner of the ring, and sometimes, his gimmick would be throw it in the eyes of the guy when the ref wasn't looking, that kind of stuff.
They had all that. That's what goes on.
Well, I was close enough to get hit with the salt.
Didn't he also have a cane? What about his cane with the knife?
The cane came in later when he's a manager. I'm talking about when he was a wrestler. He was in a tag team with a guy named Mr. Saito. Anyways, so it was Fuji and Saito, the tag team. They're wrestling. They're bad guys. And the salt came and hit me. That's how close I was. And when they came out, they go to fight outside of the ring for a minute. I'm like, 5 feet from these two guys going at it. And he picks them up and slams them on the cement at Convention Hall. No pad. Okay. No ring. No nothing. Picked him up and dropped him. You could hear this guy's back slap on the cement. Like,
They do that, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they come up, take him out of the ring, and boom. Like you're saying.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah,
boom.
The slap was louder than the crowd around me when his back hit the floor. And I just went, ooh, that had to be uncomfortable. And I mean, I knew it was all fake, but, they're sitting there swinging. They barely come near him. Of course, if it's on TV, you change the angle a little bit, blah, blah, blah. I know, but I don't know how you fake getting dropped on your back on that cement. That sounded like impact to me. And I was like, oof, that had to sting, man.
And the guys that do the walk, that were there.
Bushwhackers.
Bushwhackers.
So you saw the Bushwhackers.
Oh, yeah. I love the
Okay, so this was the 80s then.
Yeah.
That was when they were a tag team.
Yeah.
That was the 80s, maybe early 90s, maybe. That's when you saw this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bouncing back and forth, and then they came and they start taking the ring apart. The guy's chowing down the food like he's eating something. So wait a minute, they're taking half the rings down.
Yes.
And here the people are looking at this crazy nut trying to play in the wrestling. It's just absolutely ridiculous watching all these guys. It's all faking, going around there trying to rip the rings apart.
They're hungry, Uncle.
They sure are hungry now.
So they eat it.
Yeah, I like that. I remember that. The Bushwhackers used to chew on wood and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a fun gimmick. I always liked that because I was a kid when they were around. I always liked them, so they were fun.
Okay,
I like that team.
You guys are never going to believe this. Do you know how long the career of the Bushwhackers actually was? You'll never guess it.
Probably long.
As a tag team?
Tag team?
I don't know. Probably 10 years.
Okay, various changes of name. But ready for this? 36 years as a tag team. They started in 19...
Stuck together for that long?
Dig this. They started in 1966 and they were called the Kiwis. All right, and they wrestled in Australia. Okay, maybe Ray knows something about this. He's listening. Then they became the New Zealand Sheep Herders. Okay.
Yeah.
Then they became, and that was in, let's see, what year? 1978. Then in 81, they became the New Sheep Herders, all right? And they started moving up a little bit, okay? Let's see, Jonathan Boyd and Rip Morgan, they were called from 1985 to 1986. And there they were in Puerto Rico wrestling. Then they were called the Originals from 86 to 88, okay? And this is where they go to the UWF and all these other little things, along with Ted DiBiase, a bunch of people that would show up elsewhere. Their first time with Jim Crockett Promotions, etc. They go to Memphis. They go all over the place. Now, the Bushwhackers become a thing. You ready for this? In 1988.
Okay, that sounds right, yeah.
And they wrestled apparently in the WWF, in and out of the WWF from 1988 to 1996.
Okay.
They had a world tag team They held the World Tag Team Championship from 1991 to 92. Let's see, they opened the night with 1993 with another opportunity against Tag Team Money Inc. in 93. Let's see, after the WWF. Okay, after leaving the WWF, the team made special appearances in the independent circuit, including a return to the WWC. Okay, which I don't even remember the WWC. They were part of something called 50 Years of Funk. They went into the ECW as Luke and Butch Dudley.
They were the Dudleys?
Well, they were Luke and Butch Dudley as cousins, the Dudley brothers, in 1999.
So the Bushwhackers were the Dudleys. That's the same guys?
It's what it says here. In 1999, the Bushwhackers participated in Heroes of Wrestling, where Williams and Miller took on and defeated former WWF Tag Team Champions, the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov.
Okay. No, when I think about it, that one Dudley brother looks like the Bushwhackers. I didn't realize it was the same guy.
Yeah,
it was.
I didn't know that.
Their last match.
Is he from New Zealand for real? Are they from New Zealand?
I'll go back to their early career and stuff, but just to give you a closure on this, their last match as a team was on December 8th, 2001 in Farmville, Virginia, losing to Carnage and Mr. Big Stuff. Yikes. Miller would retired from wrestling in 2001 after a neck injury, and Williams retired in 2002. Williams came out of retirement in 2007, where he worked for Ring of Honor appearances in New Zealand, Ultimate Championship Wrestling in Nova Scotia, Canada, and the independent circuit. As of 2022, he still occasionally wrestles for independent shows in the United States at 75 years of age.
Oh, God.
And his partner died on April 2, on the 2nd of April, 2023. Miller died at age 78, is what it says here. So.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Yeah,
I did not realize that Dudleys and them were the same.
Right. So to go back to
they look familiar, though.
To go back to their points of origin and all that good stuff, let's see. They were billed as from being from New Zealand. Now, does it say that's where they were from? Let's see.
Yeah.
I gotta find that out. Let's see. The new sheepherders, history. Let me see where their personal histories are. Morgan. Yeah.
Because the Dudley... Was it the Dudley boys, the Dudley brothers? Like, I remember them. There were all sorts of different iterations of the Dudleys,
right,
over time,
and they were one of them.
They did that bit with they'd throw people through the tables and they'd jump off ladders and stuff.
Yeah, that's that ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling, right? So
that's when they put all the tables in the ring.
Yeah. They were famous for the tables.
They start knocking people down. Who's our next opponent? And coming out with another table.
They had that match with Edge and Christian, and what was that other group of the guys that jumped around? They had a big ladder match that was really famous with those guys.
I had a couple of those.
I forget the other team's name now. The Hardy Boys.
The Hardy Boys.
The Dudleys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian, and that was a really famous match where they're jumping off really high ladders and going through tables and jumping out of the ring and all this stuff. It's crazy to think that was a bushwhacker, that one guy.
Yeah, so apparently, Luke Williams and Butch Miller started wrestling as the Kiwis for NWA New Zealand, later on known as All-Star Pro Wrestling in 1966. So that's where they started. It says they were billed as being from there. I'm looking for their personal thing. But that's where their career started, and I don't know. I gotta find their personal histories here. I guess I'll look them up under their regular names. And
interesting. So maybe that was the 90s that you went to the show, Uncle. Maybe it was the early 90s. Does that sound right? Or
that's about right.
It's right in there.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
But we also saw
Because that's a WWE event for sure in Florida.
Little Munchkin, green, yellow man.
Was everybody a Munchkin that you saw that wrestled?
Okay, but was the Munchkin you saw?
Small?
Yeah, see, was the Munchkin?
There's not even a word there.
Was the Munchkin?
There was little.
Was the Munchkin a clown or a?
Yeah.
He was a clown.
That's what I was saying.
So
Doink and Dink.
Doink and Dink.
Yeah.
You saw that. You saw Doink and Dink.
Doink and Dink.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. But there was before he became NOW with the snake.
With the snake.
And
Jake the Snake?
Jake the Snake.
Before that, they were the Lollipop Guild.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, everybody remembers that.
Jake the Snake, and
Rick the Model Martel.
They started wearing these black uniforms.
Black uniforms, okay. I mean,
and they started wearing the
NWO.
NWN.
Oh, New World Order NWO?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that was WCW.
Yeah.
That was WCW.
Yeah.
Was it a WWE or WCW show
and
that
then
went to
we
see?
had him, and then we had...
Point, they were trading stuff back and forth, so, I mean, it's easy to confuse.
Them two were going back and forth in the colors, but before that, he was a little...
Oh God! Here we go with the little again. He shrunk down now. He made himself smaller.
He's a big
little guy.
What is the guy that he turned? Yeah,
X-Pac.
He was yellow before he became
Bart Simpson.
Black.
Yellow before he became
Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan.
Think of his name.
Hulk Hogan goes from the yellow. Hulk Hogan goes from the yellow shirt to the black shirt when he becomes Hollywood Hulk.
Okay, yellow to black.
He becomes Hollywood Hulk. Yeah,
Hulk Hogan had his little men. Little men.
Yeah, just little men.
And before he became the NWO with
Hollywood Hogan.
Hollywood Hogan.
Yes, that's
so he went from there to there, and I thought the guy was pretty good. That
was him becoming a heel. When up to that point he had been the big baby face of all baby faces, the number one guy.
Right.
He transformed into the heel, and that was the whole NWO, Hollywood Hogan, et cetera, and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have all these.
So we saw that
these little guys on these crazy wrestling operations. They all get in the middle and they start and disturb the match.
Oh, you like the managers and whatnot.
Yeah.
They always do.
I mean, that is crazy.
Okay.
It was like a character show watching a show like someone's in a Calamity comic show.
Like that yeah.
It was really funny.
Jimmy, you following all this?
You following this, Jimmy?
Oh, I'm following, and furthermore, in defense of little people, I find it outrageous that the Disney Corporation isn't hiring 7 dwarves for the new Snow White movie. Instead, they've all been replaced by so-called magical creatures.
Oh, really?
They're just a bunch of weird street urchin-looking people. I don't know what's magical about them.
See, because I don't
outrageous.
It's because I don't understand what's politically correct here, Jimmy. I don't know what the bigger foul is, right? Is it using dwarves, is it using little people in roles simply because they're little people? Is that staying to integrity, or is that exploiting little people, or is it both? I can't tell anymore. I'm not sure what the politically correct thing is there. A little confused, Jimmy. What do you think?
Well, I think the political correct stuff needs to go to hell. I mean, if the movie calls for a certain part, they should look like the part.
I agree with you there.
I don't see what's controversial.
Well, I agree with you there. And here's the thing. Some of these politically correct lefties, though, say, look, if it's an Asian character, get an Asian person to play it. If it's a handicapped character, get a handicapped person to play it. If it's a black character, get a black person to play it. If it's, they say that all the time. If they're Latino, then it should be a Latino actor. Okay. And if it's supposed...
They do that. But let's say you're running Saturday Night Live and you got 10 guys and none of them are what you need. I mean, why can't you portray that in a lighthearted way? These days you'd be crucified.
Yeah, I know, but of course you got to include everybody now, even if they're not funny, because that's why Saturday Night Live has 30 cast members. And I bet you can't.
And then they have these little guys.
Little guys. Don't forget the little guys.
The little guys
running around, and they get in the middle of these little short little fellows.
I just don't remember
going back and forth.
I don't remember so many wrestling matches.
This is how they are, Jimmy.
Okay.
Many little guys.
Aaron, you're too young. You're too young to remember the days of 4 or 5
wrestling match.
Look, there was days. I'm telling you. Listen, Aaron, you got to understand. I guarantee if you look for film of it, you can find Andre the Giant wrestling 5 of what they called midgets on TV. 5 midgets at once.
That's true.
A handicap match.
In the 70s, little people were very, very prevalent in wrestling.
Yes, they were.
Fast.
There were what they called.
People fought.
What are you doing? No lie.
What are you doing?
No lie. There were what they called midget wrestlers, that were part of main events all over the country in every kind of wrestling in the 70s. Absolutely true.
Okay, well that's fine. Yeah. Then we gotta change Uncle's story. You didn't watch this show in the 80s. You didn't watch it in the 90s. It was the 70s that you were there in Florida watching a show. Is that right?
No,
I'm just trying to get the timing.
Let's get the timing right.
You're trying to get the year.
He's right.
I just gone there for it was a.
I mean, you're telling me Hollywood Hulk Hogan was there. That was like 98 or something.
Yeah, but they still had
Friday Night SmackDown.
Oh, Aaron, you're confusing me.
SmackDown.
Look, Aaron, let's get this straight. Uncle could have seen little people because they weren't wrestlers no more in the 90s. Now they had them as leprechaun. Notice, I bring up the leprechaun. He brings up the clown. Indeed, there was a little person clown, a little person leprechaun, a little person this and that. They had little people here and there, but they weren't really doing the wrestling anymore. Now they were little additional pieces to somebody else's act. Like I told you, the one guy comes out doing the Irish jig. He's dressed in green. He's got green tights on, all that. He's got to come out with like 2 leprechauns throwing 4-leaf clovers at the crowd as they dance down the aisle. I'm not kidding. This is what they're doing.
I know. It's funny. I mean, it's acting, but it's funny.
It just points out how ridiculous this whole thing is. But I mean, that's wrestling. I mean, it's a circus.
So even the guy, in independent wrestling organizations went and got people like, do you ever see, you're semi-familiar with Howard Stern at some incarnation, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So he had this little guy on there named Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I know Beetlejuice. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was mentally handicapped. He was a little person. And Beetlejuice got into some of these wrestling acts, some of these indie wrestling acts, in the New York area especially. But in other parts of the country even, Beetlejuice was out there wrestling with people. He would just yell, I'm Beetlejuice. And that was it.
Yeah.
And they put him in a wrestling outfit, and his whole thing was, I want to keep the outfit. That was his whole big thing. Somebody pay me, and I want to keep the outfit. I mean, he did everything from adult films to wrestling matches, Beetlejuice. But the point is, in the 90s, Uncle could have easily seen a bunch of little people involved in a TV promotion on a couple of different wrestling things. It could have been WCW. It could have been the brief thing where they had what they were calling NWO broadcasts. It was meant to look like some competition to the WCW. It could have been ECW, and it could have been WWE.
All right. It was Friday Night
SmackDown.
It was Friday Night SmackDown.
That's what it actually was.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan was there.
Hogan was there.
A bunch of little people were wrestling,
people running around.
A bunch of
First match, little guy against short man, and they were going at each other until they get to the main event.
Which was what? What was the main event?
What the heck was it?
It wasn't Hollywood Hulk Hogan? The Bushwhackers.
I forgot the names.
Was The Rock there? Was Mankind there? Was Randy Savage? Because he was in the NWO too. That's all right. It's all right. It was in the 90s.
Quick question.
Was this in the time when The Rock... Didn't The Rock always used to say... ask people what they think.
Oh, yes. The Rock. The Rock was there.
Can you smell?
The Rock, yeah, you're right, Jimmy. The Rock was there.
The Rock was there.
You know what's cooking.
Can you smell?
You know what's cooking.
Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? That was his thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm looking back. Here's a quick question for you. It'll help me out, Uncle. Did Hollywood Hulk Hogan wrestle a big fat guy named Earthquake at this event?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's when he was yellow.
Yeah, but there's a couple of times he did it, and there was a point at which he wrestled the big guy.
I think he did.
As Hollywood Hogan, because the picture shows him with the dark goatee with the streaks in it, which is Hollywood Hogan.
Yes. I think so.
I'm trying to track down this event, Aaron. I'm doing my best, researching and trying to track down the event, okay? There's another one where he's at an event with Ultimate Warrior, and he looks like he's dressed that way, which makes no sense because I thought Hollywood Hogan was only WCW, but I'm working on it.
No. I remember that because Warrior came back for a WCW promotion as OWN.
That's what it is.
As the enemy of NWO, it was One Warrior Nation. He's like, I'm going to come get you, and the Warrior.
Was the Ultimate Warrior?
That's what that was.
So was the Ultimate Warrior at this show, Uncle?
Was the Warrior there? Do you remember him?
I think so.
Yeah, he was there too?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try and sort it out, Aaron. Give me a minute. Give me some minutes.
Like Friday Night SmackDown.
I know, but there's...
You all gotta watch Friday Night SmackDown.
But, Uncle, no, it's not that simple.
I gotta get back into it.
Uncle, no, it's not... Uncle, it is not that simple. Look, the SmackDown, the Friday night thing has been around for years and years. They even had NBC brought on a Friday or Saturday night wrestling thing at one time, and other companies tried to compete with the WWE, WWF, etc. I mean, in fact, part of how the WWF got founded and big with the TV contracts comes out of the fact that they knocked other people out of their time slots, away from their TV slots on Friday nights. So, what I'm telling you is there's a lot of Friday night wrestling over the course of the 90s, the 80s, the 2000s, and so on. So there's tons of it. I got to narrow this down to an event held in Florida, broadcast on TV with Hulk Hogan and some little guys. For sure. And I'm trying. It's not that easy, though, Uncle. I swear. It's not that easy. I'm working on it, though, okay? Give me some time.
We get a ticket to go to see these wrestlers in live.
By the way.
It was with John Woods.
John Woods.
The one that was in... was working with me in the base.
Oh, that's who you... Okay, that your buddy was with you.
Me and him went.
Can we get him on the show to tell the story?
He was in
Maybe you can
Jacksonville.
Listen,
we should get him on the show.
Not to spoil anybody's party whatsoever, but it is actually at that 2-hour time. Just so you know, we're actually there. I'm not sure how long Uncle's show went, but I know your show went over a little bit, and his show is now, we're at 21 past midnight here in the East. So I'm just letting you know. You don't got to end right away, but I'm just letting you know where we're at, okay?
Well, we hit a very important topic that we just had
the subject about all these little guys, and we got Sidekick here laughing away with these little munchkins.
And I'm trying to help you. I know, and I'm trying to...
Munchkins, the sheer volume of them is what throws me off.
But there were points in which...
I can see a couple, sure, but you're telling me like every other match they're popping out in droves.
Yeah, but that's Aaron. But there were shows that happened like that, where they had bunches of them. I mean, in the 70s, you could have whole tag teams, you could have whole events, they would show midget wrestling. But in the 90s, they had whole teams of these guys. It's like send out three, they would send out like three of these, guys throwing Lucky Charms at the audience. You know what I mean? And four-leaf clovers. And then they needed another guy to come out with another team. They had lots of little people, and there would be tons of them. Uncle might be reporting something very accurate here. I'm telling you. It sounds funny.
Okay, fair enough. Uncle, we need to...
Sting
was there too, right?
Wasn't riding the ropes yet.
Was Sting there?
Oh, I don't think Sting could have been there.
I didn't see Sting.
Okay. So Sting wasn't there.
But
Sting wasn't
hasn't running the ropes yet.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Uncle, do we need to do shout-outs, or should we just end it?
Oh.
Should we do shout-outs?
Well, go ahead, Jimmy.
Jimmy, shout-out.
Okay.
You got me going crazy with this.
Time flies when you're crazy. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It seems like your show started 15 minutes ago. And no one even hardly called in.
Yeah, that's you. I mean,
Jimmy James is the only caller
it's
tonight.
The first week of the football season.
Jimmy James is the only caller tonight, so I don't know. Yeah, it could be because of the football season. I don't know, but Jimmy James is the only caller either hour. Either hour, we only got Jimmy James. So there you go.
But on the other hand, Uncle, you're someone that has absolutely no trouble carrying a show single-handedly for an hour.
No, I won't. Oh, but I can get into one very, very shortly and funny, and like you had their sidekick here, running around with little men in the steam. I got a kick out of that just watching him.
Oh boy,
Jimmy.
See, do you realize that there are comedians that if you told them they had to do 20 minutes on stage and just talk, they would pee and poop their pants because they couldn't do it?
Indeed, Uncle. Believe it or not, some comedians will take an entire year to create 20 minutes of material that they do live just talking by themselves. So there you go.
Golly.
There you go.
Well, I had to say something.
I thought it was a great, fun discussion. I hope more people join in next week. I'm sure people listened, and they will listen more later. Have a great weekend. It was a good show. Everyone that can, help support the Ocelli Effect. There's a lot of, just today Chuck aired a new show, so all kinds of new stuff going on there. All right. Bye, everyone.
Take care, Jimmy. Thanks for being here, man. All right. Uncle, do you have any shout-outs? Or just
I want to shout out to Chuck representing this audience for his thing and send a donation to him for having this activity shouting for all this confusing talking we've been having. Shout out to them for him.
Okay.
So Uncle says support the confusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
support the confusion that we were having tonight.
Yeah, keep it going.
Keep it rolling.
You don't want it to stop, do you?
But it was really good because I had Sidekick here laughing a storm up with these little men in the field.
You made a believer out of me.
I know. It was funny.
Little guy here, 10 little guys here, Hulk Hogan there, 20 more little guys. I get it. I believe it. Okay?
The computer...
1990, 1970, whatever.
I don't know
it's Friday night SmackDown, Monday night Emporium, whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever. It all happened.
My apologies. By the way, my apologies to anybody who might have called in the past 10 minutes because my computer froze and then crashed. That was hosting the call-in lines. So I don't even know how we stayed connected to Jimmy James the past 10 minutes, but we did. And so that computer crashed. I'm not sure what's going on with it.
So we didn't.
It's a radio miracle.
It's a radio miracle.
Listeners out in the state either?
No. Everybody, the live stream is still happening. I'm sure if we go and look in the chat room, they'll tell us the live stream is still going. But the thing is, and you guys are streaming elsewhere as well. So it is what it is. But the phone line connection got severed at some point here, and I was unable to pull up anybody else. If you called in, I couldn't see you, and I couldn't get your calls. Just telling you, sorry about that. Right.
That's all good.
Listeners, we got everywhere.
I had more fun talking to Jimmy the way he was acting.
Exactly, the way Jimmy was going, the way the show went. We had plenty of fun with the wrestling thing for a minute. I can't even remember everything we talked about. It was just a good time, right?
Right. And I had to put something together in the show, so I put that together.
Uncle, you put it together, but now it's all come apart. The whole week just ended. Even though it's Sunday, the week isn't starting. It's actually ending. The show is ending. So, Uncle, why don't you bring us home for
hang on. One more thing, Uncle, just so you know, because I did not give you this report earlier. We have a couple of listeners in Paris, France. We have a couple of listeners in Paris, Illinois. I've never seen that happen on the stream before. Also, an unusually large amount of listeners for us at this time of night, because it's early morning, next day, early morning, in the UK. So there was about 9 or 10 listeners in the UK tonight alone. Let's see what else we got. One in Ukraine, one in Spain, Mexico. This one is somewhere in Africa, but I don't know what country. Let's see where else we got. All over the U.S., of course. I wanted to give you that report before we were done to let you know we had international listeners. Also, Guten Tag to the people in Germany. Thank you for being on there for the past 10 days, just to let you know. But all these people were tuned in to Uncle tonight, just for your knowledge. So I wanted to let you know that before you take the show home. And with that, I will now shut up. I appreciate the shout-outs. I appreciate anybody does at Ocelli.com to keep the confusion going and the non-confusion going. All of this stuff that is a 24-hour radio station and is now a set of 4 different podcasts, but there will be more soon. Special events coming. Tomorrow is not a normal broadcast day for me, but in observance of 9/11, there will be live guests. Many were invited. We shall see who actually shows up, and it will not just be at my regular times. So I have multiple possibilities for live shows tomorrow as well. And there you go. I just want to let everybody know that, and thank you, Aaron, for doing this, and you, Uncle, for doing this. As how many years have we been doing this, Uncle? Do you know how many years we've been doing this now?
Over 20.
Over 20. Over 20 years.
That's all I can figure.
Not with me.
Got this.
Not with me.
I go from that for the new revolutions. Now, it's about how many revolutions did we hit?
Uncle, I'm just trying to remember how many little people we had at a revolution.
I knew this was going to come up.
I remember at least 15 of them last year. And there were at least 15 little people in the intro to the revolution last year.
And Sidekick, wait a minute now. Wait. One last thing also. Sidekick, I remember a couple of years ago, you were supposed to get some little people as guests for Uncle. Yeah. I don't think you ever did that.
What happened?
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
I can't recall, but I believe the story. I don't remember.
Very early broadcast. Ask Creative Accidents, because I'm sure he'll turn around and tell me.
Crazy Accidents knows everything.
Yeah.
Call him up and let him tell you.
Right.
Okay, where is my little man?
It was 15 minutes in. Yeah. Oh, no, he reminds us of everything, Creative Accidents.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So, yeah, exactly. Uncle, I'm agreeing with you, Uncle. But the thing is that I remember this show that happened because we were talking about little people tonight, that Uncle was talking about little people another time, a couple years ago. I mean, all the way back in like maybe 2017. And Uncle was talking about it, and I remember I had to tell you, it had to be 2017, because I was going to Dallas. And I said, look, guys, I'll be away for a week, so I won't be on the show and this and that. And Uncle said somehow little people came up, and Uncle said, I want some little people on here to answer these questions. And he had some questions in mind, and you said, okay, I'll get them. And I said, all right. And we never got back to it because I went away to Dallas. I got caught up in other stuff. I didn't get on it, and you never did it. So,
that's your job to figure out there, Sidekick.
Where's Uncle's little people?
Person to get him on the show.
Right.
At least one.
They could be little people wrestlers.
One or two.
Yeah, they could be little people wrestlers or whatever, you know.
I don't care, because these little guys, they talk. And when I listen to them talk, they make little sense.
But you know what's even cooler is, there was whole TV shows with little people, right? The Big Little World and all this stuff. And I'll tell you what I think Uncle would have a lot of fun with is talking to a little lady.
Little lady.
Yeah, like a little person, but a lady. See? Now you're talking. Now you got my number there, Chucky. I got you. Yeah.
Chucky.
Oh, man.
That's my
well,
uncle
all
impression.
I know is that if they make little sense, they'll fit right in.
There
I know
you
they
go.
fit in my acting on my shows.
I know.
Every single show that I make,
Yeah.
they fit in easily.
Oh, yeah. It's simple. We got space for you.
And
We
there
got
might
space for
even
little guys.
and there might even be some people that are specifically comic actors. A lot of little people get comic, roles and interesting spots in movies. I mean, there's a variety of little people you could reach out to. Anybody who, the guys who were originally operating the R2-D2 suit, right? Those guys, the people that played Ewoks in the Star Wars universe, some of these wrestlers. I'm sure Uncle would love to talk to any of them. You might be able to find a couple sidekick here or there on social media. And maybe we could get some little people on the Uncle Show. And I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm just throwing it out there as, again, I always give you guys suggestions, and I thought it would be worth it. Plus to give you the overall who we got in America. Our biggest state tonight is in Texas, but we had listeners in Michigan, Washington, let's see, where else? Massachusetts. I thought I saw New Jersey, but I don't see it now. Pennsylvania, California, Texas again, Oklahoma, Florida, one listener in Florida, a bunch of them that just say the United States, nobody listening in Georgia at all that I see, Alabama though, and I think I covered everybody. Except, New Mexico and Arizona.
Oh, yeah, no.
There we go. New Mexico. So that's everybody who's listening. I think I just named all your states. If you're on Ocelli.com or listening through one of our things, I got you. If you're on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, Sidekick sees you. We see you. We appreciate you and thank you. So anyway, Uncle, that's enough out of me, but I wanted to give you the report on everybody listening and remind Sidekick he never got you some little people since you were talking about it. And I knew you would love that. So.
I would have really enjoyed talking to those guys.
Okay.
So now we can close out the show.
I'll show the show out to my 309 show is down the books.
Oh, there we go. That's all done. Okay, there we go. It's over now.